We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain your host, Mark Angelides. And we continue to be joined by Liberty Nation's executive editor, Leesa K. Donna. Thanks for sticking around, Leesa.
Good to be here, Mark. What bunny trail hat do you have for us now?
Let's talk about birds and people still think they're real. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, carry on, Leesa.
No, I think it's going to be an interesting week in Washington, D.C. Like I said, half of the country and half of the conservatives, at least those on the right, are really celebrating, and those on the left are still lamenting the outcome. But it's time to get over it and push on with, getting some things done in the country, and a lot needs to be done. And the fact that Donald Trump has had this hiatus, I think has given him an opportunity to really refocus, reset, and get his mind on what he wants to accomplish, because he only has one more term. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and he knows this, and I think he's ready with all due haste, which is why so much has been happening. Just this week, they decided to ban red dye number 3. Now, like, how many decades has that been wanting to happen in the United States? As you and your significant other said when you came to the States, we don't have that kind of coloring in the UK. And I'm like, yeah, why are we poisoning our people?
They don't have it north of your border either, over in Canada, or as I like to call it, the soon-to-be 51st state.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Where does Greenland fit in all this?
Greenland, well, let's we could go down that particular trail. As you know, I've done quite a bit of writing on that for the pages of libertynation.com, sponsor of this here show.
One of the things that he's Greenland, Canada, this peace accord, which is on again, off again, on again, off again. Wouldn't it be interesting if the hostages were let free when he took the oath of office, a la Ronald Reagan?
Yes, Ronald Reagan on the heels of Jimmy Carter. I don't think it's going to happen. It's a very different world, and there's too much international pressure specifically from those Iranians.
It might. I mean, all hell will break loose, is a definite threat. And I think people in the international countries tend to think Trump is a wild card, and that they're frightened of that.
As well, they should be. I mean, that's what you want from a leader. You don't want what do they call it? It's taking strategic ambiguity to the 10th level, as it were. So with under the Biden administration, we know what Anthony Blinken's going to do, because it's the same as happened under Obama, and there's a and they follow it, and we know what it is. I know what it is. If I know what it is, the smart guys over in Tehran or in the international arena whose job it is to figure out what America's response is going to be, they certainly know what it is, because it's the same one they had under 8 years with Obama, and that's Joe Biden. Donald Trump's the enigma. That's what he is, and it is strategic.
But he thrives off that, and I think it benefits the country too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about my phone yapping the whole time.
That's all right. But yeah, it's a strategic ambiguity in human form. And I think that will serve not just American interests well, but it also serve global interests well. Because it is, as much as we may want nations to carve their own paths, there are global connections with everything. And if America is bogged down because everybody knows what America's playbook is, then that hurts all the countries that are reliant on America's strategic partners, trading partners, things like this. And the world as a whole, which is in the doldrums, let's be fair, on a global scale, the world is in the doldrums. It can only move forward if the weight of America is moving forward and not pulling back. And I think that's what's about to happen with the Donald Trump inauguration.
Let me ask you a question. Donald Trump is set to sign 100 executive orders right after he takes the oath of office. Aside from getting writer's cramp, what do you think, what do you think is going to be in those executive orders?
Okay. Well, my guess is that many of those executive orders are already signed. He might do one or two for the cameras, but he's got a whole attaché case. Some poor bud's carrying that around with all these executive orders. Hey, he's today. No, they just stamp the date on it and put it out.
Oh, okay.
That'd be my guess. Okay, so what's going to be on them? Well, I would imagine something to do with Title 42, a shutdown of various portions of the border would be on there, I think. There's going to be...
What about deportation?
Okay, so that's huge on Trump's list and huge for the American people in terms of at least what we've seen from polling is people are, and there's something fascinating about it, Leesa. Sorry, a little tangent here, is there's a majority of Americans literally a majority, who are all for deporting illegal aliens. Now, Donald Trump's one of his first moves will be to deport illegal aliens who have committed further crimes since entering the country,
Right.
especially those who are currently in prison or on the court or in the court system or in the judicial system. If there's a majority support for deporting illegal aliens who have just crossed the border,
Right.
what is that support going to be like for those who have committed further crimes since entering the country? Nobody seems to poll that one, but my guess would be that's pretty high.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. I think there's going to be a lot of economic things too. Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
You know, in his first term, we became energy independent for the first time in like ever. And I think he really wants to get back to that. And that really is the key to the economy, I think. Once you get the energy prices going, then I think the rest of the economy can heat up a little bit.
Wait, I mean, as everybody knows, energy is a third of all business costs, pretty much, especially for manufacturing ones. So that doesn't necessarily mean that prices are going to get cheaper for the consumer, but it does mean that there's not going to be an inflationary pressure, which means that your money, as your money grows and grows, it's actually worth the money it is, rather than the secret deathly tax of inflation taking away all of those earnings that you've had. Now, speaking of inflation, Leesa, Joe Biden's crowing about, I think it's a 2.7% inflation ending his presidency, whilst ignoring the fact that cumulative inflation is about 20%. Do people buy this?
No, I don't think so. I think it's laughable. And everybody knows that the price of everything is more than it was. And I think it's kind of interesting. This is just a side note. It looks like it's set to be the coldest or one of the coldest ever inaugurations in history, like in single digits. That's where it's, and all those ladies are going to eschew that Republican cloth coat and get their furs, I think, because it's going to be freezing out there. But I think that's interesting because, we talk about energy and you can't do anything if everybody's freezing to death, like Jimmy Carter had them turning down their thermostats and waiting in line for gasoline. And I think Americans have had it with that kind of stuff. And they need an opportunity to succeed here. And I think Donald Trump wants to provide that for them.
I don't know. I don't want to say it, but it's morning in America again. Yeah. At least that's how it feels on this side of the water.
Well, but it's interesting. Napolitan News put out a poll, and this is run by Scott Rasmussen, put out a poll, and they basically said that most of the media is going to be pushing against Trump this whole time. So he's going to have that again. He has seemed to mend fences with the tech platforms, big tech platforms, or we'll see, so they say. I mean, Elon Musk is one thing, but Mark Zuckerberg is another, and then Jeff Bezos met with him as well. So maybe it doesn't matter whether the legacy media, is bucking Trump at every corner if he's got X and Meta and, Amazon behind him.
Yeah, so on one side you have the reporters and the editors, and on the other side what you have is essentially individuals speaking to other individuals, and that's really where the future lies. Leesa K. Donna, thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Thanks for chewing the fat with me, Mark. Have a nice day.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.